Hi guys, David here. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to do something that I may end up regretting. I'm going to step into the ring and take the Has Steve Read It challenge. So the caveat here is you're picking 8 books that you own, and you will see whether or not Steve has read the book. Um, these have been fun videos to watch his reactions. So if you pick a book that he hasn't read, you get a bean. If you pick a book he has read and it's obvious that he probably would have read it, you get a facepalm. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And so I've got a little bit of an eclectic taste on some of my shelf. So I figured this is as good of a chance as any to show a couple of the books that I've got and see whether or not Steve has read this. So I'm going to start with one that might be a little unorthodox here. We got Sweet's Anglo-Saxon Primer. So this is basically a tool to learn grammar and vocabulary for Old English, and then some exercises in there to translate Old English into modern day English. And the real reason I have this is my stepping stone to eventually. I've got Kleber Beowulf 3rd edition, where I will be doing some translation of Beowulf. This is something that I'm teaching myself. Um, I'm hoping to add more books to my Old English to um, learning shelf. But yeah, this is Sweet's Anglo-Saxon Primer. I'm not sure if he's read it, but I could be wrong. He's very well read. If he's got an interest in Anglo-Saxon, if he has an interest in Old English. I know he reads Middle English. Um, so yeah, have you read it, Steve? Next we have Medieval Iceland Society, Sagas, and Power by Jesse L. Byock. Now, this one might be a little bit of a risky gamble because I know this author is a pretty well-known author writing about Vikings and such. Um, but yeah, this is my wild card here for my Viking history on the shelf that I'd like to get around to reading myself. I picked it up about a month ago, and I'm looking forward to it. And so, have you read this one? Next, we have Castles and Warfare in the Middle Ages. Yes, Eugene Emmanuel and Viollet-le-duc. Um, so this is illustrated. It's very detailed, very researched book on what castles and warfare were like in the Middle Ages. It's got a lot of bite-sized chapters. It's got some nice illustrations in here. It's a volume that I'll be reading soon. It's very concise. I mean, it's not that thick. It's a reasonable book, and yeah, this is probably the one that I think that he of the ones I'm picking. This is probably the most likely one he's read. So, have you read it, Steve? Next, we have an older book here, The Norse Atlantic Saga by Gwyn Jones. It's got 2 parts kind of in this book. One kind of talking about the society of the Norse and their voyage life, and then the second half talking about some of the primary sources, so some of the sagas and things like that um, that deal with the voyage and the travel of the Vikings. And so this is easily the oldest book. I mean, it's got some age on it. So have you read this one, Steve? Let's go with this one next. We've got the Battle of Poitiers 1356. Another one that you may have read. It's by David Green. It's very concise, but it's specifically about one battle. And so I read this last year. I really enjoyed it. It's got some really good information in it. I learned a lot about this one battle. You know, I love Hastings. I love Agincourt. I've got a book just on Agincourt on my shelf, but This one I thought might be kind of a wild card in there. So next we have Redefining Perfect. So this is the interplay between theology and disability. This was gifted to my wife and I following the birth of our daughter. She's coming up on being 3 here in September, and she's got a pretty rare genetic disorder. Um, she spent the first 3 months of her life in the hospital, came home, was home about a week, went back in Christmas Eve, and was in the hospital for another 3 months. And for her first year and a half, 2 years almost, she was in and out of the hospital fairly regularly. Um, Praise God that she's been home since November. November was the last time she's been hospitalized for any length of time. So, uh, you know, Redefining Perfect. It's a really short read. I feel pretty confident that Steve has not read this one. If he has, I'd love to hear it. But yeah, this is one that I probably wouldn't have bought myself before then, but I really enjoyed this one. Now we come to the final two. At this point in time, I'm either doing fairly decent or I'm in desperate need of some good books to help me get a bean. Um, so I'm pulling out the heavy hitters here. A companion to the Gawain-Poet. So I know Steve likes Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and the Gawain-Poet. I know he recommended a Penguin Classic Edition that is really lengthy, has a lot of notes, has it in the original Middle English and everything. So there's a good chance that he may have read this one, but there's also a good chance that he hasn't gone to something that is specifically just about. I mean, this is a lengthy volume here. Yeah, a couple hundred pages. Yeah, about 420, 430 pages of essays and just scholarship work on Gawain-Poet. And last but not least, so I wanted to pull something off of my Tolkien and C.S. Lewis shelf, and I felt not very confident about going with any of their works. Even the histories of Middle Earth, the 12-volume histories, I wasn't very confident about it. I've got them sitting right back there, my 3 hardcover set that has all 12 books in there. So I'm going instead with another more scholarly work, The Inklings and King Arthur. So this is talking about Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, Barfield, Charles Williams, and what their dealings with the matter of Britain, Arthurian legend, how it inspired them, how it appears in some of their writings. This has been an interesting read so far. You can see I'm working my way through it. This is fantastic so far. I'm really liking it. It's getting me excited to really dive into Barfield in particular and explore some of his works. So I'm super pumped about getting through this. I feel pretty confident that this is not one that Steve has read. So, maybe at the end of this will at least be the one that gets me a point. We'll see how I did. Like I said, I've got some really eclectic taste in books. I would wager that most people have not read, much less own, a lot of these volumes. So I'm curious to see how I did. And stay tuned. Peg from the history shelf has shown excitement in having a full history bookshelf tour, and I've got a good number of volumes that I haven't read yet because I got a really good deal on a lot of them. So I'll be doing a tour on that sometime soon, and would welcome recommendations on what I should read out of that first, and as well as what I should pick up to fill some of the gaps. So, Steve, have you read those books? I'll have all 8 of them listed down below for a nice, easy copy paste. Just try to end it here, keep it short, throw my hat in the ring. Let's see how I did.